Story 1. I, 25 female, and my husband, 27, have a daughter, now a toddler. She was my parents' first grandchild. They swore up and down to us that they would be the support system they didn't have raising me and my younger siblings. I'm currently 7 weeks pregnant with our second baby, and I am extremely high risk. My therapist recommended that my parents or someone my husband, and I trust, take her overnight once a week so I can get a reset on my sleep, as well as have some time to myself. I brought it up to my mom, and she said, "Of course, sis." Then 6 months later, my brother and his wife, who had a newborn, moved home from North Carolina. Once they got home and moved in with my parents, having our daughter dropped from once a week to almost never. I started working in July and brought up to my parents needing them to watch her on Fridays when my husband and I would be working. When they were busy or out of town, I enlisted the help of my aunt. My parents haven't taken her willingly overnight since my husband, and I begged them to take her so we could go out and celebrate our wedding anniversary a few weeks late. On to last night. I've been exhausted lately and haven't gotten a good night's sleep in weeks due to my daughter going through a sleep regression. After I finally got her to sleep at 10, I called my dad. He answered the phone and asked me if I was okay calling so late at night, and I just broke down crying and begging them to take our daughter for the following night because I was so exhausted and just really needed a break. Long story short, he told me I was trying to take his time to get things done around their house, and I got even more upset. I hung up the phone after telling him to forget it, and I didn't need their help. 5 minutes later, he called me and pretty much told me to suck it up, that I needed to learn to manage my time better, especially with another baby on the way. So I exploded and told them if they weren't willing to be the support system they promised, then I would stop asking for their help, and I would just ask my aunt. If they decided they had time in their schedule, they could call me, and we'll see if the timing works for my husband and me. I said, it's not my job to make sure my children's grandparents are in their lives. If it's important to you, you guys will make time for them. So I guess when you guys want to see your granddaughter, you can call me. But you don't have to worry about watching her while I work or being asked to keep her overnight anymore. You want me to be self-sufficient? Watch me. I don't need your help, and I don't want it either. Then I hung up the phone and proceeded to cry in bed with my husband until 1 a.m. So, am I the idiot? Edit to add, my brother and his family no longer live with my parents. My parents are in their 40s. Mom hasn't worked for 8 years. Dad works Wednesday through Sunday. My parents shipped us off to my mom's parents every chance they got to get some alone time or a night out. We used to spend entire weekends there growing up. My parents were watching my brother's daughter multiple times a week, and I had to fight once a week. I lend my parents money all the time and constantly do them favors. They preach about the importance of being involved grandparents, but don't practice what they preach. My husband's family is unavailable due to living many states away. You are the idiot. I don't think it's cool to use access to your kids as a weapon. And how are you going to manage 2 kids? Your sleep will be stretched thin. You said you live paycheck to paycheck and don't have cash for a sitter. You're basically using your parents as free child care. From my understanding, it's not like they never babysat your daughter, but they have their own life, and right now they might not have the time. They took in your brother's family and helped with their newborn for however long, so now it seems like they need a break. I feel your pain, but your kids are not your parents' responsibility either. Your dad is also right that you must manage your time better with a second child. You can't always rely on someone else to pick up the slack. That goes out the window when they use her for financial support as grown adults. And did you miss the part where she said she's currently in a high-risk pregnancy? I'm sorry, Op, but they seemed to care about you until your brother's baby came along. You are not the idiot. Oh, good God, stop giving them money. Use it for child care. Stop doing the favors. You need to conserve your energy. I'm sorry your parents dropped you off at the grandparents when you were kids, but then swore to you you'd get the support system they never had. How exactly did they not have a support system? Please, stop giving them your money. Your mom can start working. When my kids were born, I opened a savings account for them, and my mom and I put the same amount of money there monthly. My daughter had been working since she was 12. She did little jobs around the town until she was 14, and since then she had an actual job. She didn't touch a penny from that money and put all of it in the savings account. So she has more money than her twin. When my kids went to college, the same one but different degrees, we sent them money monthly that was enough for their basics and some extra. If they wanted anything else, then they needed to take it out of their bank account. They got access to it at 18, which is when we stopped putting money in it. My son did take some money out of his bank account. It wasn't much, but after 2 years of college where he took at least a little out every month, there's a noticeable difference between his and his twin's accounts, especially since she got a part-time job and put about 50% of that money in the bank account and had the money she made before that. This weekend, my kids were home from college. Their college is only 2 hours drive from us, so they're here most weekends. We were at a family dinner at my mom's where my son heard my daughter talking with my brother about wanting to start investing. And he joked about how they have so much money anyway, so what does it matter now? She jokes back that because of that mindset of his, she has more money. He just makes a sarcastic face and goes back to his conversation. But when we went back home, he asked my daughter to see her bank account. She was obviously confused, but showed it to him anyway, and he got furious. He was yelling so much nonsense that I still don't even know what he said. But in the end, he told me that I needed to put the difference in his account, since it was unfair that she had more money than him. My daughter looked at him like he was dumb and said that she added money from her job and never took any out, and that's why she has more than him. He yelled that he didn't care and that they should have the same amount. I told him that I couldn't afford to pay the difference, especially as I was paying for their college, and that if he wanted more money, he should work for it. He went red in the face and stormed to his room. He hasn't talked to any of us yet, and my daughter has told me that he won't even look at her, and that even his friends have noticed that something is wrong with him and come to ask her about it. I don't know what to do. I don't want him to distance himself from us and his friends because of this, but I can't, and I'm not willing to pay the difference. His sister worked hard for that money, and it's not fair for her if he'll just get it. I'm sorry that you've raised an entitled little boy. Your daughter worked for years and put money in the account instead of slowly draining it. Of course she has more money in her account. Like duh. What? Did your boy think she was working all that time for fun? You don't have the money to make up the difference, and even if you did, it would be so unfair to your daughter. Let your son pout and whine. He's getting to go to college, and has a little extra spending money on top of that. He has no student debt, unlike so many people these days. He is so astoundingly ungrateful and entitled. I don't know what to do. You don't do anything. This is his problem. This is a life lesson. If you work and save, you'll have more money than if you sit on your butt and spend. He also learned that you weren't put on this earth to solve all of the perceived unfairness he will experience. Not the idiot to say no to his unreasonable request. When I, 18 female, was my mom died. My mom always wore this necklace that she got as a teenager. It was unique and special and meant so much to her, and she gave it to me to wear before she died. She told me that if I ever wanted something physical to think of her by, I could have that, and she knew it would work because she always wore it, and I treasured that necklace. When I was 7, my dad got remarried, and he and his wife had a daughter. Within a few months my half-sister was born. I was 8. One day when she was 6, she asked me if she could wear the necklace and I said no. She got upset. My dad and his wife were upset with me for being unwilling to share it, so my dad forced me to take it off, and he gave it to my half-sister. He said from that day on it was hers because she deserved it, and I'd acted immaturely and cruelly by refusing to let her even touch the necklace. My dad and I go into a big fight about it, and his wife inserted herself into the whole thing by saying I loved the necklace more than I loved my half-sister. It was less than a week later when everything shut down, and for months after things were tense, and I was angry, like beyond angry, because my half-sister kept the necklace and I was seething. She refused to give it back to me, and Dad would yell when I would try demanding it back when asking failed. 2 years ago, she broke the necklace. It was an accident, but I was there when it happened. She was careless with it, and her parents were watching. I lost my crap, and I yelled and cursed and told my dad I would never forgive any of them, and I would never ever let it go. It took a month of me feeling that way for him to regret it, and to realize that my half-sister cared more that I was mad at her than she was about the necklace. Because part of him believed the necklace meant something to her too. I refused to accept his apology. His wife called me bitter and said I was shameful for loving a necklace more than my own sister. I told her I never loved my half-sister, and she and her husband could thank themselves for making things even worse. I turned 18 in November, and I moved in with my granddad. We talked about it for ages before, but he picked me up and I left. My dad was trying to stop me from going, and both my half-siblings, I have a half-brother as well, were upset I was leaving and wanted me to stay. But I left, and I intend never to return. My dad has not let up, and when I blocked him after he refused to stop calling, he showed up outside my school last week and told me we needed to talk, and he wanted me to move back in. Graduation was this year, and he needed info. I told him he's not coming, so he doesn't need to know anything. He told me of course he was coming, they all are. I looked him in the eye and told me if they showed up I wouldn't attend the ceremony, and I would never give him the satisfaction of watching me graduate. He told me I took it all too far and should find a way to forgive. Am I the idiot? You owe them nothing, and your dad and his wife were horrible to you for forcing you to give up your mom's necklace. I wouldn't blame your sister if she's just a kid, but her parents should have had much better judgment. You do not have to be in contact with anyone if you don't want to. Honey, you are not the idiot. Yeah, now the consequence of choosing his new family over his oldest daughter is biting him in the butt, and it's too late to undo what he's done. He says you should find a way to forgive, yet he hasn't done a single thing to try to earn forgiveness. Even now he's still choosing himself over you. Where's your necklace now? Your dad would be blocked forever if it was me. I'm sorry you lost 2 parents. He spits on your mom's grave and traumatizes an already grieving child by taking the one physical thing she had left as an irreplaceable gift from her mother. That's inexcusable. He's a weak excuse of a man and never puts his first responsibility to the child he already has above his own wants. Tell him when you get your repaired necklace back an apology, give you a call, then take it and let go of him and your resentment and pain like a helium balloon. My husband and I have 5 kids. Elena, 25, Michael, 24, Maya, 23, Andrew, 20, and Emma, teen. My husband was never the most involved father. He would take the kids for fun outings now and again, but that was about it. He left the rest to me. Our older 4 are all great people. Elena is in med school, Michael is an electrician. Maya is a nurse and Andrew is pre-med. They were all pretty easy kids. They've done some stupid crap. Elena vaped for about a month, Michael snuck out to see his girlfriend, Maya never did her homework, and Andrew got into several fights. They all still had good grades, were well liked by their teachers, and were overall good people. Emma is and always has been completely different from her siblings. She was kicked out of her first preschool, regularly suspended from her elementary and middle school, wasn't allowed to go on school trips because of her behavior issues, and her elementary and middle school forced us to get an assessment on her twice and take her to see a behavioral specialist or else she'd be expelled. She's at a public high school now and sees the school psychologist, but is still in trouble so often that I'm on a first-name basis with the dean at her school. She's still banned from school trips, and we're about 50-50 on her being allowed to attend other school functions. Over the past month, she's stolen alcohol from friends' parents and got so intoxicated she ended up in the emergency room, skipped school 3 times, had 5 detentions, and drove her friends to the mall, illegally because of her restricted license, while grounded. Started calling all of our family members names whenever they annoy her. I can't punish her because my husband always says I'm too hard on her and undermines me. If I try to punish her, she laughs and walks away. She uses her size, She's got about 6 inches and 80 pounds on us to intimidate me and my daughters, and is very aggressive with my husband, and I were arguing because I took her car keys after she took her friends to the mall, and he said she's a typical teenager. I have something against her, and that there's nothing wrong with her behavior. I snapped. I told him if there's nothing wrong with her behavior, he can deal with her. I packed a bag, and I'm staying with Maya 5 hours away. I called the school and told them to contact my husband when they have any issues, and that I would not be responsible for Emma and her behavior anymore. My husband has called me multiple times saying I need to return, and that Emma needs me. I've told him that he needs to deal with her now since he never saw her behavior as a problem. He's calling me cruel and a horrible parent now. I'm sure this will end in divorce, but I just wanted to know if I was wrong for leaving and telling my husband that Emma is his problem now, not the idiot. Removing yourself from the situation makes you a good parent. Your husband refuses to see how bad things have become and undermines the rules and punishment you've set in place in an effort to make Emma into a functional adult. He needs to come to terms with the fact that there is something seriously wrong with Emma if she's ever to get the proper help she needs, and making him deal with her 24/7 is your only option left. Most of what you described is not normal teenage behavior, and it's baffling that he thinks it is. I don't see that you have any choice if he constantly undermines your attempts to give Emma some kind of consequences and structure. You need to be a team, but your husband seems stuck in the fun dad mode. Stand strong. Maybe Emma herself will come around. Don't lie to her. Tell her the reason why you are staying away. She is plenty old enough to face reality. I disagree. Op needs a reality check. No child is drinking so severely that they end up in emergency care just because they like the rush or whatever dumb crap nonsense. This girl is troubled, and given it started early on, I'm highly concerned it was a reaction to something rather than just acting bad just because. Kids aren't born bad. Either medical, physical, social, or emotional things have occurred to lead to these behaviors, and it sounds like you've given up on trying to figure out what that might be. Your husband is an idiot for making excuses for her behavior. However, he is still supporting her and loving her unconditionally, so at least he has that going, but neither of you is helping her. Step up as a parent now. Thank you for watching.